Hello friends, welcome back to the class on the Old Testament survey. In the last lecture, we saw something basic about the Bible. In this lecture, we will look at how the Bible came into existence and its structure. Let us take a look at the structure of the Old Testament first. The structure of the Hebrew scriptures, that is the Old Testament, is based on God's process of progressive revelation. Its arrangement differs from the Christian Bible that we have today. Jewish Hebrew scriptures or the Masoretic texts. Jews initially accepted 24 books, but later they accepted 39 books as their scriptures. These were sacred texts, hence handled with special care. They were divided into three parts: the Torah or the law, the Nebiim or the prophets, and the Ketubim or the writings. The law, which is Torah, it is the section of the first 5 books of the Old Testament. In Hebrew, they were called Torah, which means teachings. They are also called Pentateuch in Greek, which means 5 scrolls. These include the books of Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. These books were traditionally believed to have been written by Moses. They were very ancient as they were accepted by the Samaritans also. The second section is the Nebiim or the prophets. This was the largest part of the Hebrew scriptures. This was called Nebiim in Hebrew. This was divided into 2 parts: the former prophets, which had books from Joshua to Kings, and the latter prophets, which were books from Isaiah to Malachi. The latter prophets were further divided into 2 parts: the major, which consisted of Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel, and the minor prophets or the book of the 12 prophets, which consisted of Hosea to Malachi. The books of major and minor prophets are not called so due to difference in their importance, but because of the size of the books. These were accepted by the 200 BC. The third section is the section of writings. This is called Ketubim or the sacred writings. It includes the other books of the Old Testament like the Psalms, Proverbs, Job, Song of Solomon, Ruth, Lamentations, Ecclesiastes, Esther, Daniel, Ezra and Nehemiah as one book, and Chronicles as one book. These were not accepted as a part of Jewish scriptures until before Christ. Only in 90 AD at the Council of Jamnia they were confirmed as a part of Jewish scriptures. These 3 divisions of Hebrew scriptures forms the acronym Tanakh. Jesus implicitly referred to the 3 divisions of the Hebrew canon when he spoke to the disciples in Jerusalem, stating, "Everything written about me in the law of Moses and the prophets and the Psalms must be fulfilled." Let us take a look at the Greek Septuagint or the LXX. The Greek Septuagint is a translation of the Hebrew Old Testament into Koine Greek. The translators of the Septuagint in the 3rd century took a different approach to the arrangement of the Old Testament books. They used a Hellenistic approach according to the Greek genre of law, history, poetry, and wisdom, major and minor prophets. Let us look at the changed structure. It was classified into 5 parts: the law, history, poetry, major prophets, and the minor prophets. The books of the law were Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. The books under the history section were Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th Maccabees, 1st and 2nd Esdras. The books under the poetry section were Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Songs of Solomon, Odes, Judith, Tobit, Wisdom, Sirach, and Psalms of Solomon. The 4th section was a section of major prophets, and the books under that were Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, Daniel, Bel and the Dragon, and Susanna. The fifth section was the section of minor prophets, and the books that it contained were Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi, and Baruch. The Christian Old Testament, let us look at that. Christians used Greek in their missionary endeavors outside Israel, so they used the Septuagint as their basic book or scriptures. In AD 382, Pope Damascus, the leader of the Roman Church, appointed Jerome to prepare a fresh Latin translation of Old Testament. He referred to the books other than the Jewish canon as ecclesiastical books and called them as Apocrypha. Though Jerome used Hebrew scriptures and Jewish canon as the yardstick, he followed genre of the Septuagint in classifying the Old Testament books. Augustine of Hippo differed in his view on Apocrypha. So in the later published Latin Vulgate, he included the section of Apocrypha with only few books from the Old Latin translation. Reformation leaders denied the canonicity of apocryphal books. Their views about it differed. Luther published the German Bible with separate section of Apocrypha between the Testaments. Calvin completely rejected them. Let us take a look at the present structure of the Old Testament. The present structure also has five basic sections. First, the law, which consists of Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. The second section is history, which consists of Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther. The third section is poetry, which consists of Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Song of Solomon. The fourth section is the section of major prophets. It consists of Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, and Daniel. The fifth section is the section of minor prophets, which consists of Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi. Let us take a look at the Jewish canon now. Before the Dead Sea Scrolls, it was assumed that the Jewish canonization took place in three stages. Law received its canonization in 400 BC, probably by Ezra. The second stage was the acceptance of the prophets in 200 BC. The third was the writings in 90 AD at the Council of Jamnia. But it was not so. The law and the prophets were already in use before the Septuagint was made in 250 BC, and it was only reaffirmed in 90 AD. The intertestamental period and the Apocrypha. The Greek Septuagint or the LXX contained some books that were not found in the Jewish Hebrew canon. The Septuagint translation probably took place in 285 to 246 BC during the reign of Ptolemy Philadelphus, mainly for the diaspora Jews. LXX contained not only the well-recognized books of the Torah and Nebim, but also other writings including the apocalyptic writings or the revelation of the future in the Hebrew as well as in Greek. The different versions of LXX contain different apocryphal books since the Ketubim had not yet been finalized, and this allowed translators of LXX to include books of their own choice. During the post-exilic period, prophecies had ceased for nearly 200 to 400 years. Prophecies about the advent of Messiah, arrival of God's kingdom, salvation of Israel were not yet fulfilled. They lived under a series of evil kingdoms like the Medo-Persia, Greece, and finally the Romans. The persecution and the forced idolatry, especially under the Seleucid rule, led to the Jewish writing with its root in Old Testament prophecies, which was called the apocalyptic writings. These claimed to reveal God's secret purposes. They were meant to meet the religious needs of the people. They also were historical books, short stories, poetry, and wisdom literature. Many Jews of the 2nd century BC did not accept these books as inspired and rejected them, especially those written in Greek. The majority of the Council of Jamnia in 20 AD believed that the prophecies began with Moses and ended with Ezra in 440. But some of the Jews differed in their views. Thank you, friends. This is all for today's class on the structure of the Bible. See you soon in the next lecture on the unity of the Bible. Bye for now.